Good evening, and welcome back to the channel on this fine Saturday evening. When I was last recording with the last video, it was overcast and it looked like it wasn't going to be a fantastic day for weather and reports of thunderstorms and all of that. But no, it's actually turned out to be quite a nice Saturday evening, which is always a blessing. But in terms of blessings in the transfer front, we've got a bit of a blessing that's seemingly unfolding before our very eyes, which is that whether you want to count this as a blessing, but the Mason Mount deal looks as though it's done, as though Manchester United have very firmly stated we weren't going to go over this £55 million pricing, and our deal will still stand for Mason Mount, but we're not going to push to negotiate for a price into a region that we don't value this player at. And I think to show that sort of resolve, I think is the correct choice to go with, because the option that they're opting to go with is the option that I said that they should go for, which was Moises Caicedo. And I'm sure it's the same option that all of you would wanting the board to go and switch their focus to. Because Moises Caicedo, 21 years old, fantastic prospect, is proving to be a fantastic player in the Premier League, and he's moulding into ball playing sides, and he's showing his qualities on the ball, off the ball, you name it, right the way across the board. Moises Caicedo is looking to be a fantastic player. So it makes all the sense in the world that he would be linked to a big club. Manchester United have decided, well, Mason Mount's not working for us, but Moises Caicedo, someone we've been linked to before multiple times, is available. So double bonus there. Lovely stuff, lovely jubbly stuff. So what is the official word? Now, this is coming from Jane Northcroft, which is basically what everyone else is echoing. Now, in terms of how reliable this source is, I cannot say how reliable it is, because, to be honest, it's probably the first, maybe the second time I've actually heard of this person before. But what's being stated here is that MUFC have dropped interest in Mason Mount and are now preparing a bid for Moises Caicedo. So I think it's acting decisively. They know that they've got to get a deal done really, really quick, and I think they just straight away, do you like this player? Yes. Is this player good for us? Yes. What's the price range? Supposedly, the valuation was set at £80 million, which is significantly more than what the Mason Mount deal or the proposed acceptable Mason Mount bid would be from the Chelsea side, as to what they would say would be considered. But they believe that it's much more worth going to bidding £80 million on a 21-year-old that's easier to sort out the contracts with, but more importantly, seems like a much more important and critical player to the system that we opt to play, and for what Eric Ten Hag wants to do with this team. So it makes all the sense in the world that if you can get a player like Moises Caicedo, don't pass up the opportunity, because a player like that being so highly sought after, he's going to end up at another big club, and then you're going to be left ruining your missed chances. So makes sense taking this option now. Mason Mount currently not being linked to another club apart from Bayern, but I don't really know how legitimate those links are, so we won't entertain that idea unless it does get a bit of traction. But it's definitely a sort of signing that, if we make a Moises Caicedo signing, you take a look at the fans of other rival clubs, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, well, actually, that's a really good signing. Forget price tag and everything. That's a genuinely good and smart signing to make for a club like Manchester United. So it's one of those, if fans of most other clubs are, highly regarding Moises Caicedo, it makes all the sense in the world that you should say, well, okay, then we'll be taking the first spot in the queue, and we'll be getting the deal done, and we'll try and wrap it up as quickly as possible. As long as we don't start messing around with this deal, then there's something to hold on to. We won't just be clutching at straws uh, in terms of hope in this transfer window. So fingers crossed that it's something that the Murto magic will swade in and complete this deal fastest that anyone's ever seen. So it's all wishful thinking, knowing this board, but at the same time, it's a bid and a deal that is sat on its perch right there, and all you got to do is just catch it, and get it done. Don't waste any time with it. So that for me is a no-brainer. So MUFC's decision, just to continue on with Jay Northcroft's reporting here. MUFC's decision to pursue other options was taken after Chelsea rejected their third offer for Mason Mount. Chelsea are insisting on 65 million, which was, I think, the 58 plus 7, was it? I think it was 58 plus 7. A price United consider unrealistic given Mount has only 1 year left on his contract, which is fair because most people said that about a 40 million is a fair, justified price tag for Mason Mount. Which I believed it would be the same. But even then, a £55 million bid, it would just be unacceptable to be trying to secure a player like Mason Mount for more than 55 million. It would just be unacceptable. And I think having been rejected 3 times, I think for John Murta, I think pride would hurt him a bit if he's come out with what he said in terms of how he's going to tolerate negotiations with clubs, that he's not going to be strung up to being made to be played the fool, basically. So, as well as preparing a bid for Moises Caicedo, MUFC will also step up attempts to sign a new centre forward with Rasmus Højlund and Randall Kolo Muani as primary options being looked at. Mohamed Kudus is another who could come under consideration, which I think Kudus is someone who's been looked at by Brighton. So I think this might all sort of fall into place that they're probably anticipating, Brighton might be anticipating the sale of Moises Caicedo to say, well, we'll time the deal completion with Kudus as long as it's sort of, the player we're signing is coming in at the same time that the player of Moises Caicedo is leaving, just so it's all done really, really swift. And there's no sort of second thoughts about what the squad's going to be with Brighton going into a pre-season and also Manchester United to go into a pre-season. If we were able to take Moises Caicedo onto a pre-season tour, would be, quite imperative as well as a striker. Those 2 positions, as well as, and I think, to be honest, the goalkeeper's got to be, mission critical. Those 3 positions, and I think that's the pressure. That's the pressure right there. We've got a deal on the table for Andre Onana, who wants to join the club. We've got Moises Caicedo, who could very, very quickly make the interest known and make it serious. The player will want to join the club, and then sort out if it's Rasmus Højlund or Kolo Muani as your striking option, and just go straight forward. It's full steam ahead, and don't waste any time with it. And speed up on the sales as well, right? Speed up on the sales. The sales have got to happen. So Brighton, just to continue with the reports here, Brighton are believed to value Moises Caicedo around £80 million, which is what I think was expected. I think it's the price tag that was mentioned before the window opened. Considerably more than 58 plus 7 million add-ons Chelsea are demanding for Mount, but MUFC are prepared to take into account Caicedo's younger age and radically different contract situation, which Caicedo is obviously not going to be demanding as big a contract as a Mason Mount, at least not yet, not at the age of 21. I wouldn't reckon. So I think it's a much easier deal, a much simpler, straightforward deal, and I think just an easier club to negotiate with. I think Chelsea, they're going to try and complicate things and max out as much profit as possible. Especially considering Mason Mount is not someone that they signed. There was someone that they had come through their academy. So any sale that they make on him would be a profit. But what's also being regarded is that Mason Mount will see out the last year of his contract, and that United would be able to go and sweep in and catch him on a free next summer, which again, like I said in the last video about the Rabiot deal, if it's a free deal, it's a why not deal. You know, why wouldn't you do it if it's available? If they're available and it's free, they've got good enough quality, why not do it? Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. Here also says MUFC have a long-standing interest in Moises Caicedo. Yes, they have. They could have signed him years ago for about 5 million as well, by the way, which has been crazy foresight. But then again, would Moises Caicedo be as good as he is now if he had come to Man United back then? Probably not. Probably not, just judging by the track record of player development that we've had over the years. So the long-standing interest in Moises Caicedo have been maintaining a dialogue with his representatives while going for Mason Mount, and will now identify efforts to explore a deal, which I don't like the idea that the wording of that by saying, oh, they're going to identify efforts to explore a deal. Don't explore a deal. Go walk in to their offices, sit down with the player and his agent, and go, right, Brighton, you said 80 million, there's 80 million. Do you want, how much are you realistically expecting on your contract to MUFC? 100k, this is just hypothetical, by the way. But 100k, yeah, sure thing. There you go. Any signing on bonuses, couple signing on bonuses there. Yeah, lovely stuff. Happy days. Any little sweetener clauses that you'd like Brighton for further down the line, like a couple years or so? Putting little sweeteners just to really, garner that yes factor, just to wrap the deal up before anyone else sticks their foot in the door. Because imagine if Man City are just watching this and waiting for Caicedo to be in striking distance for United, and then City just go, thank you. I just couldn't. I just can't begin to fathom exactly how I will feel if that happens. So here we go. Carrying on, there is a belief at MUFC that Chelsea are trying to apply a Manchester United tax to the Mason Mount deal. That just sounds I think that just sounds like Man United's fan hating on other clubs with the frustration that we're seeing, people getting really wound up by the clubs are charging us extortionate prices for these players, but they'll let other players go to other clubs for less money. And it's just like, yeah, but it's the reputation that the board have set for us. This is the reputation that they built. This is going to be expected. This is always going to be the case. So I think even if we had Qatar, they'd still put Man United tax on a lot of players until people start realizing, okay, well, this Man United board, we can't sell our players to Man United because they're just not going to tolerate us taking the mick. They will actually go and they'll do a deal that they can do, and they'll do it swiftly. Once you start building that reputation, then people start taking you a lot more seriously, and then your player prices can start to come down a bit. There is sympathy at MUFC for Mason Mount. The offer of £55 million will still be left on the table, and there could still be room for a compromise with Chelsea if the West London club are willing to enter talks about closing out a deal at around that mark. God, please don't let it be that they go, okay, so what about 60 million? And then United go, yes. Please don't. Please, for God's sakes, don't do this. Do not do this. Honestly, Murta, if they come back and say 60 million and Murta says yes, that bastard can leave the club tomorrow. He can get sacked tomorrow. and deported to the Isle of Man, and they'll leave him with just rags. Just leave him on that island in a field somewhere in rags. Seriously, because this is a golden opportunity. And that, I think, pretty much summarizes, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what was being reported on that. So, yeah, it's good news. It's good news. Very good news for Manchester United if we are going to be putting in serious interest and putting a deal on the table, putting a bid on the table for Moises Caicedo, because definitely a player that we do need. Strength and depth, because imagine if it's Casemiro who starts, or you've got Caicedo on the bench, or if you've got both of those, because I can imagine you can start a midfield with Caicedo and Casemiro. Imagine that midfield. Imagine how hard that will be. That will be to play against. Yeah, have Caicedo one side, Casemiro there, have perhaps your Bruno Fernandes in the middle there. It will be a nightmare midfield to play against for most teams. So it makes all the sense in the world to do it. Absolutely. Whereas if you're keeping someone like Mason Mount, he's not known for his defensive attributes or his abilities off the ball. So it makes the midfield job to control a game a lot more difficult. So for what Ten Hag wants, he wants control, he wants possession, and he wants chance creation. What better way to start than building a really bloody strong spine? And that's basically the premise of going after Moises Caicedo and pay the money. They reckon 80 million. Stick 80 million on the table, no questions asked. Just straight up, 80 million. There you go. There you go, 80 million. You've asked for 80 million. There it is. As simple as that. They could get this wrapped up on the dot. So I don't see why they shouldn't do it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Whether you think that this is good news that a Mount deal is offered now, that we're changing the focus. We're changing the focus towards Moises Caicedo. Whether you think that's the player that you would want us to go for. Maybe you have another player in mind. Maybe you prefer if we just changed our focus to Declan Rice. But then again, Declan Rice, I think West Ham want about 120 million. So I think, yeah, Caicedo, who would you rather, Caicedo or Declan Rice? I think more people would actually prefer having Moises Caicedo over Declan Rice, and we could probably get him for a lot cheaper than Declan Rice, because West Ham are being a bit sort of stiff with the price valuation, which, I mean, fair enough for them. Of course, fair enough for them. But, if we can get Caicedo, sort out the deal now, do it now. And, that pretty much is wrapping up this video. Don't forget, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you like the idea that we're focusing on Moises Caicedo, whether you think it's good news that we're leaving Mount deal behind, or whether you believe that there is a better option out there for Manchester United who they could be going on to switching their focus to. But aside from that, be sure to smash up the like button and destroy the subscription button, turn the notification bell on in case there are other important releases of information that I can create a video for, and also for if I do go live, which I can imagine sooner or later we'll be going back to a couple of live streams. But that is a bridge that we'll cross once we get there. But as for now, that's it for me, and I'll be checking out for the day, and we'll be seeing you all again tomorrow. Goodbye.